Hey guys, this is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. Hey, I just want to say that our club has now hit 3,000 subscribers. So good on us. Good job. Okay, the title of this episode is The Side Effects of Astral Projection. It seems like everything that we do in this life has consequences or side effects of some kind. If we eat too much at a meal, we get indigestion and bloating. Too much alcohol, and we get an awful hangover and a pissed off significant other. Too much exercise, and we get sore muscles. Even prescription medications have a whole host of side effects, from dry mouth and nausea to more serious ones like liver failure and passing over permanently to the other side. Astral projection is no different in this regard, although not all astral projection side effects would be considered negative by many projectors. Let's talk about the physical side effects of astral projection. After some of my projections, when I've returned to my body, I've noticed a feeling like my whole body is buzzing in some low-level electrical field. This sensation is strongest in my third eye area of my forehead. Next, I may feel tired in the morning after an extensive night of astral projecting. When you're unconscious, you recharge energy, like through sleep. However, when you are conscious, like lucid dreaming, or most especially astral projection, you are using energy. So if you do a lot of astral projecting during one particular night, you may feel a little tired in the morning. Lastly, occasionally I have a mild headache that usually disappears after a few minutes lying in bed. So those were the physical side effects. But astral projection is a very subtle phenomenon, and the side effects occur in a lot of different areas. And as I said before, not everyone would consider them negative. So let's talk about the psychic side effects. Number one, I've noticed that my telepathic abilities increase substantially after a period of astral projecting. Keep in mind that when one astral projects and you communicate with other beings, you are communicating using essentially telepathy. Your lips don't need to move. You are thinking to them in probably the most full communication possible. They're not only getting words, they're getting pictures, they're getting feelings. If I communicate to a being what it is like to be in a park next to a bubbling brook, he gets everything. He only gets the verbal information, but he gets the picture. He gets the feeling that I have when I'm there. When I feel the light breeze blowing across my face, when I hear the sound of the brook as it goes over the stones. So he's getting a very full picture. And I have noticed that when I return to my body for a period of time afterwards, my telepathic abilities are much increased. And let me give you an example. I had one particular period of time where I was just astral projecting, probably too much. Because I was a little tired in the morning. Anyway, I was riding with one of my salespeople, and it got a little weird because I was answering one question after another before he actually brought up the subject. And I wasn't conscious that I was doing it at first because it was flowing so naturally. It wasn't until about the fourth or the fifth question that he half jokingly and perhaps with a little bit of paranoia, although we know it's not actually paranoia, he asked me if I was reading his mind. And in essence, I was. Now, naturally, I kind of backed off after that. And even though I knew what he was going to say next, I let him say it first. I don't like to disconcert people, especially those that work with me. Number two, when I see a missing person on TV, I can get in touch with their energy usually, and with a very high degree of accuracy. So far, 100%. I can sense whether they're alive or whether they have passed on. And that's a very weird side effect. Number three, I can sense the well being of my family members easily just by tuning into their energy signatures. When you astral project, when you want to go to a particular person, a person that you know well, you have to home in on their energy. Yes, you have a picture of their face in your head, but actually, you also have a record of their energy signature somewhere in your astral mind. And that's what you use to actually seek them out. After I return to my body with an extensive amount of astral projection under my belt, I retain that ability to a high degree for a period of time. Next, I can often sense the personality of some commenters here on Astral Club. And there's been several that I have offered my opinion as to the type of people that they are. Of course, they're wonderful people. If they're on Astral Club, they have to be. And they've come back to me and said that I was pretty much right on. Next, flashes of the future. From time to time, especially after a very, very busy astral projection period, I get flashes of the future coming back to me from time to time. I can control them. They just happen, and often in unexpected time periods. One of my theories is that when you astral project to the future, remember how I often say that I have a period of unconsciousness, and others have reported the same as well. My theory is that what's happening is as I'm progressing into this distant future, my consciousness is being subjected with a large, enormous amount of input, both visually, psychically, you name it, and it can't handle it. So it shuts down for a period of time. Perhaps that data is recorded somewhere, and perhaps at unlikely times it happens to pop up. In one memorable case that happened a few months ago, I was driving, in that semi-meditative state that we all fall into during a long drive. I could have swore I heard my phone ping, indicating I just received a text. Now, yes, I was being naughty. I admit it. It's not something I should be doing. But I read the text while driving. It was a message from someone I hadn't heard from in a long time. Well, I was then decided to be a good boy and I set the phone aside. When I returned home, I wanted to reread the text because it was done so hurriedly. But there was no trace anywhere on my phone that such a text had ever been there. Puzzled, I just forgot about it. Then, 12 hours later, my phone indicated a text arrival. There, in front of my eyes, was the exact text that I had read in the morning, word for word, and newly sent from my friend. Well, I called him back immediately, only to hear that he'd just written this text moments ago and had just sent it to me. He hadn't even touched his phone in the morning. So that definitely was something that caused the old chill down my spine. The next side effect that I've noticed from a psychic standpoint is something called psychometry. That's when you can touch an object and get a sense of its history. I can do that from time to time too. Unpredictably, I'll touch something and I'll get these flashes. Okay, side effects. I've talked about the experiences I've had in the past, briefly usually, of occupying some animal bodies. Now, I want to warn everybody here, this is something that does have some side effects to it. It's not something that I typically recommend, and I would never recommend it to anyone who was not an experienced astral projector. This is not something to do casually on your first astral projection. Please. At any rate, when sharing the consciousness of animals, even for a brief time, I've noticed that there's some shocking side effects that luckily, like all the other side effects, only last a few weeks after my last exposure. Example 1. Remember when I took over the consciousness of a giant prehistoric crocodile that lived about 75 million years ago? Well, for a time after that, about a couple of weeks, I found the smell of rotting meat pleasurable rather than my normal reaction as a human, which would be of disgust. Of course, crocodiles love that type of meat. If you've ever seen Crocodile Hunters, that TV show, I forget the name of it. At any rate, what they do is they go out there in the bayou and they go hunting for alligators, and they usually use like rotting chicken or something like that because apparently the smell just draws the alligators in, and because the alligators have such an enormous digestive and immune system that it doesn't bother them. So I imagine they find that smell very appealing. We humans, on the other hand, do not smell rotting meat as normally appealing because it would probably kill us. At any rate, that was a very odd sensation, I can tell you that. The next example happened after I was inside a large shark-like predatory fish, and I remember it was in the middle of a hunt, and I leapt just as it bit into its prey. For a time after that, I found the idea of a bloody fish to cause me to salivate, just like Pavlov's dog. That was very disconcerting too. Lastly, an example that I can recall is I was melded with a wolf and then a cheetah, and I found myself, for a period of time after that, continually, just unconsciously scanning about for stray cats and dogs. I imagine for a quick meal. Luckily, of course, I didn't bow to any of these odd dietary stimulations, but they were there nonetheless, and they only gradually faded after a period of weeks. So, now, what side effects those poor animals had after having contact with my bizarre brain, I guess I'll never know. Hopefully, they're not as bad as the ones that I had to suffer. There's one last side effect that is much more subtle than the others. When you time travel extensively, especially into the future, but as I do, but the past has a similar effect. You lose that inherent sense of permanence that we humans tend to have concerning our surroundings. When you see everything you've known change and then disappear in front of your very eyes to be replaced by strange and new vistas, something inside you changes as well. I find myself a little disconnected from our world sometimes, like I'm afraid to get too attached to something that I know is so ephemeral. For a similar feeling, have you ever been away from an area, maybe even your old hometown or old stomping grounds, who knows? Have you ever been away for many decades and in your mind you still have a very clear picture of everything there? The ice cream store, the ballpark, the local shopping mall, you name it. And then after many years you go back and it's changed. The shopping mall is gone. It's now a Walmart. The ice cream store that you used to get those soft serve ice cream cones. I used to like to get the vanilla and chocolate all mixed together. That's gone. It's now a Pizza Hut. And hopefully maybe the ballpark's still there. But you get this weird hollowed out feeling that you have this distinct memory of a place that no longer exists. If you've had that experience, you have an idea of what I'm talking about. However, there is a bright side to all of this. On the other hand, I notice that I tend to appreciate the little things and the important people in my life a lot more than I used to do, knowing that they won't be around forever. Well, that was a short one, but I think you'll appreciate it. I checked out a channel recently. It's called Brian Haggerty Speaks. He had advertised our site, our Astral Club, because he had done some Astral Club videos. It's for beginners, and he discusses a number of topics of consciousness and some of the mysteries of consciousness. I'll leave a link to his website in the description if you're interested in checking it out. Of course, I'll also have a link to the Astral Club website there. And if you want to donate to the channel, there'll be a link down there as well. Well, as normal, if you liked this video, please smash that like button. If you want to share it, go ahead and do that. If you have not subscribed and become an official Astral Club member, I encourage you to do that. If you are and would like to make sure you get notifications of everything that I do, then make sure you hit that bell button. And as always, I value, not only do I value you as Astral Club members, but I especially value your questions and your comments and any ideas you have for future episodes. So thank you very much. This has been Rick, and as always, I will see you on the astral plane.